Every single story follows a framework. If you can learn how to tell stories, you become a better communicator, you become more attractive, you become more charismatic, you become more influential. If you're not getting what you want in life, it's because you're not great at telling stories to get what you want in life.
Richmond Dinh is the creator of the Tiny Challenge method and founder of a multi-seven-figure coaching business. He's helped over 1,200 coaches attract clients and build high-performing businesses. Richmond has worked with the likes of Russell Brunson, Myron Golden, and Scott Harris.
Action always precedes clarity. That's the only way to get clear on something, is to take action on it first. In marketing, the goal is to have someone that doesn't know, like, or trust you do what you want them to do, but for their reasons. The only way to know someone's true values is to look at where their money is going and where their time is going.
So how do you identify this in your target audience?
I call this 7 Ps, 7 deadly Ps that stops anyone from achieving what they want in life. So I don't think I've ever shared this anywhere before. The first one is the pessimist, the procrastinator, the periodic, the pretender, the perfectionist, the pleaser.
And what's number 7?
The worst one of all is...
This episode is brought to you by Wix Studio. So Richmond, you've helped thousands of people monetize and scale their personal brands, their coaching businesses and so forth to, some of them not only to 6 figures, but to 7 figures. What has been the biggest takeaway for you on how to stand out in the market when there's so much noise and there's so many people trying to do this?
Most people think coaching is easy and making money is easy online. It looks easy online, but it's not. It's actually the most difficult thing to do to make money online as a coach. And it's not to discourage people. It's just because there's so much competition out there and it's a very highly skeptical market. In order to stand out, you need to study what everybody else is doing and then be contrarian to it. Every single person watching this, you're going to have a part of you that wants to please others and that yearning for acceptance. And so to be different, you have to accept that people are not going to like your ideas. They're going to reject your ideas and they're going to think you're crazy, including the people that are most closest to you. Parenting coaching, for example. Like most people watching are, either have a mom or dad or they're a parent. And I wanted to stand out from the crowd from being a typical parenting coach. I would probably say things like, to be a parenting coach, you need to put your kids second to you and your wife or you and your husband. Whereas most parents will say, no, you got to put your kids first. When they understand that if you put your kids second, they understand that the most important thing in life is to build an intimate marriage, an intimate relationship with your spouse, and they will model that when they have a partner. And so that's a contrarian view to parenting, whereas most parents will freak out when you say, what, you're putting your kids second? You got to find that unique angle that cuts through all the noise. And the best parents in the world will always put their kids second and put their intimate relationship first. And if you look at like Mark Zuckerberg, for example, he's not giving his wealth to his kids because the worst thing you can do is, and I heard this from, I believe it was Warren Buffett, give your kids enough so they can do anything, but not too much that they do nothing. Mm. And so that means you must be selfless enough to say, I'm going to put my kids second. So that's an example of a contrarian view for a parenting coach.
So when you're talking about being contrarian, if someone, let's say, and I've seen this one quite a bit at like public speaking events and so forth, where you meet someone, they're maybe 19 or 20, and they say, Dane, I want to be a life coach. And that to me sounds quite ambiguous. It sounds too broad scope. What's typically your go-to advice around like how they could kind of be a contrarian if that's their perspective?
Yeah, good. So I heard this from my first mentor, Scott Harris, who said, the world does not need another fat, broke, divorced life coach. And unfortunately, most people who want to become a life coach are either fat, broke, or divorced. And so
I've seen it. I've seen it a few times. Yeah.
And you got to tell people the truth. Like, it's like, well, first of all, I think you should. Step number 1 of being a life coach is sort your stuff out first. Like, that's number 1. And it's not to be perfect, but you really need to look at your life and say, okay, why would someone hire me to be their life coach? Like, what part of my life do I have in order first? And it may take you 1, 2, 3 years to sort that stuff out, but it'll be worth your while because otherwise you'll be in business for 2 or 3 years and you're not making any traction because no one's going to tell you that your breath stinks. But you always have that friend that you got food on your teeth or something and they say, oh, you got food on your teeth. And you want to know that. But some people don't tell you that and you go home, you're like, what is this? How come no one told me? That's step number 1. Find someone that's brutally honest with you to tell you that your breath stinks. That's number 1. But after that, if you're okay with that, then who do you want to coach? Who do you want to be a life coach for? Is it going to be for teenagers? Is it going to be for single dads? Is it going to be for corporate mums? Is it going to be for whatever it is? But who do you want to be a life coach for? And be bold enough to make a decision. We all heard of the niche FOMO. I don't know, niche FOMO is a thing now. If you had to go to a psychologist and get a DSM reading, there is a thing called niche FOMO now. People are just afraid to niche down. And so
are you suggesting someone owns a problem? Are you suggesting that they own a niche? Maybe for the viewers, you could describe, well, what is a niche and what does constitute that? And at what point is it specific enough that it's actually going to function?
Yeah, cool. So there's three ways you can go about this, in my opinion anyway. So number 1, if this is your point of difference. So if you're just a business consultant, number 1, you're either going to be a business consultant for really high net worth celebrities, they're celebrity kind of person, celebrity chef. So that way you don't really need to niche down to any kind of business, but you're the celebrity guy or girl. Or the second one is, really need to niche down on which type of businesses. Is it going to be small businesses, medium-sized, large, online, brick and mortar, whatever the case may be? Or you can have a unique mechanism in order to help your clients make money or get clients or make more sales. Something so unique that no one else has, kind of I guess, when you look at Russell Brunson owns ClickFunnels, he has his funnel platform, which is a unique way of helping other business owners make money because it's got a unique vehicle, even though he's not niche to any one business, but he's got this unique vehicle to help people make money. So a unique vehicle can also be a way to differentiate yourself from the crowd too.
That totally makes sense. So in Russell Brunson's case, he has, the ability to create the ultimate funnel. If we look at someone like Alex Hormozi, it's about, creating the offer. In your case, you have what I understand is tiny challenges where you help people figure out what is their challenge that they can use to leverage, for themselves to get customers. You're saying that a vehicle could constitute as a niche. And that could be broad and kind of service any business.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if a vehicle is one of them, what might other ways of niching be for a business?
You can niche down through celebrities. You can niche down through a specific who. You can niche down through your specific vehicle, an industry, race, gender, location, and religion and interests. So those are the 9 categories you can niche down to, and you can do multiple of those things. So you can do race and religion and gender and industry and go really micro niche down, or you can just do one of them. But I would suggest just choose one of those 9 to niche down to as a start. Every time someone says, I help people, you know that they don't have a niche because people is not a niche. People is 8 billion people in the world. So I help people who do this. No, niche down and in one of those 9 categories.
So how does someone identify the right type of people for them when someone's trying to define who they exist for? How should someone go about that?
So my first coach, Scott Harris, when I started out coaching, I was a life coach, and I was so reluctant on niching down because I had niche FOMO. And he said, so Richmond, who are you going to be a life coach for? I'm like, I don't know, Scott, I don't know. And I was so stuck on it. And he said, well, you need to niche down. He really pressed me on it. So at the time I was exiting optometry. I was an optometrist for 10 years. And as an optometrist, the average patient age that I was seeing was around about 55 to 65. That's the average patient for an optometrist. And so for 10 years as an optom, I had done 20,000 eye tests, and 15,000 of them were on what I call the elderly or seniors.
Wow.
That's a lot of eye tests. So average age 55 to 65. So I got to know people in the age group really, really well. And so in the middle of the night, I thought, I know who I'm meant to coach. I'm meant to coach the elderly because I had done 15,000 eye tests on the elderly. I know them inside out. I know what they want. I know their pain points. I had great rapport with them. I'm meant to be the life coach for the elderly. And so No joke. I went back the next day. I said, Scott, I'm going to be a life coach for the elderly. This is me like 8 years ago. So I ended up coaching 10 pro bonos for a period of 3 months. And at the end of it, after coaching all sorts of people, I realized I hated coaching the elderly. And I learned a powerful lesson. Here I am thinking that I had this great niche that came to me and it was a sign from above or whatever it is. And only to find out that when I actually coached them, I didn't enjoy it at all. And so I learned that action precedes clarity all the time. And so no matter how you or what you think is perfect for you, you actually don't know until you actually just take action on it. And so for anyone thinking, what should I niche down to? Well, you could meditate on it. It could be aligned. It could be your soul's purpose. But until you actually go out there and do it, you won't actually know. And the opposite is also true. If you feel like this may not be right for me, I'm not sure, well, you don't know until you actually do it. And so pick a niche. It's not a tattoo. You're allowed to change it, but you only get clear from taking action on it first because you'll never know until you actually do it. And that was from my experience. And that's kind of like life in general. Action always precedes clarity. That's the only way to get clear on something is to take action on it first.
Why is it so important that people take action first? Because I get this rebuttal sometimes when I'm talking to friends or loved ones or what have you, where they're telling me about some, embellished idea that, kind of hits them from above, like you said. And even then, even when they do get the clarity, there is also sometimes still fear to even take that first step. How does one deal with that fear? And why is the action first so important to getting clarity?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like, I align it like, if you're steering a boat, for example, you in order for, you can try to turn the boat in the right way. You can't get the boat steering where you want unless you're moving the boat. You know what I mean? You're not going to adjust standing still. You cannot adjust standing still. People aren't scared of failing. They're scared of other people seeing them fail. That's the reality of the situation. So if no one was there watching, you just do it. You just do it.
You have a concept called the Ultimate Hero Story Framework. For our listeners at home, do you mind explaining to us what exactly that is and how they might be able to implement for themselves?
Great question. I'm glad we're talking about this because I believe what we're about to go into is the most important skill that you will ever learn in life is, number one, communication, but the subset to that is storytelling. And so this hero storytelling framework is a framework that I believe is the simplest way to be able to follow a structure to tell a story. Why is storytelling important? Because it allows you to sell your ideas for influence and leadership, and it's the basis of charisma. And we all know someone we're really attracted to because they're just great storytellers. And even that story I told about my first mentor telling me to niche down, and that followed the exact framework. And every single story follows a framework. I believe that if you can learn how to tell stories, you become a better communicator, you become more attractive, you become more charismatic, you become more influential. And everybody loves a great story. Everybody loves a great storyteller. And so if you find that you're not getting, and I mean this not in a manipulative way, but if you're not getting what you want in life, it's because you're not great at telling stories to get what you want in life, and provided you treat people right and stuff. And so all the greatest influence in the world are the best storytellers in the world. And it comes from history of humanity, of, the tribal part of telling stories around a campfire and all that kind of stuff. And so storytelling is a skill worthy to invest in, and I believe everyone needs to spend a lot of time learning how to speak in stories to communicate better as a human being. So I guess that's the first thing I want to mention about storytelling.
On that point you just mentioned there, why is storytelling such a crucial component for the human psychology? Before we go into the frameworks that you have beneath the surface, why is it so important that people understand storytelling is a part of just even everyday life, not just business?
Yeah. So I'll relate it to a movie that probably most people watch is Inception.
Yes.
Such
great
a great
movie.
Oh my gosh. A dream within a dream within a dream. It is on so many multiple levels deep. And that movie talks about really what really controls us, which is the unconscious mind or the other than conscious mind. And the unconscious mind listens in stories and metaphors and pictures. And so your conscious mind is the more logical mind. It asks a question, it directs you, but your unconscious mind is the one that controls you. It's the part of your mind that controls your heartbeat, that you don't even have to think about it, your breath, everything about you is your unconscious mind, and that listens to stories. And so storytelling penetrates the conscious mind, and I'll go a bit scientific, and goes to the unconscious, and that's why it becomes such an influential tool. And that's why when you watch a movie, you lose track of time, provided it's a great movie with a great story, and next minute it's 3 hours later because it's your unconscious mind watching the movie, not your conscious mind. Your conscious mind tells time, your unconscious mind loses track of all time. And so that's kind of like in Inception. And so that's why storytelling is important, because if you want to get your point across, then you want to be able to tap someone's unconscious mind, so then you can have a better influence on them. And it's kind of like if you're with your intimate other, and there's a difference between paying attention and being present. And when you're being present, it's like you're connecting on this deeper level to them. It's like you see their soul. But when you're just paying attention, you're just kind of listening, kind of active listening, but it's not the same as being present. And so I relate that to speaking to someone's unconscious mind is like the ultimate presence to their unconscious mind. It's kind of like that.
And scientifically, like what is the unconscious mind?
It's your sympathetic nervous system, which is the nervous system that doesn't require you to think for it to act. So it's the mind that controls your breath, your temperature regulation, your breathing, your heart rate, all that kind of stuff, your dreams, your habits that you don't even think about. So when you wake up, what's the first thing you do? What's something that you don't even have to think about when you tie your shoelace? You don't even have to think about when you drive a car. When you've driven a car so many times, you don't have to think about. It's the mind that doesn't need any attention for it to act, because it's just all automated. That's my understanding of it.
Right, and that's why it's typical for people to find it difficult to change their behavior, because they're not just trying to reprogram their conscious decision making, they're trying to reprogram their unconscious mind.
That's correct. But there is an easier way to change your behavior.
How do you change someone's behavior?
Very easy. You have to do something that's more important than the automated behaviors to them.
What's an automated behavior?
So for example, if your automated behavior might be, I wake up and the very first thing I do is I hit the snooze button for 20 minutes, and then I need to meditate for 20 minutes, and then I finally, an hour later, I get out of bed. Like that's, you don't even think about it. Or maybe a behavior could be a pattern of the way you express anger. Like, you get triggered easily and you yell, or you become controlling, whatever it is. Or a behavior might be how you eat. Like it's when you get stressed, automatic behavior is you pull out the pack of chips or the ice cream and you don't even think about it. So those are examples of automatic behaviors of procrastination, of perfectionism, of anything you don't really have to think about. So, and it's very hard to change it consciously, extremely hard. Like you can try to do affirmations, you can try to set an alarm on, you can try to have discipline and rigidity, but the only way to change your behaviors is just to change your environment, which is your peer group. Like that is the only way to permanently change your behaviors in the short term and the long term, because when you attach yourself to a peer group who are playing a game at a higher level than you, the number one human fear is to be detached from their peer group. I mean, that to them is equated as death. And so you will always form to your peer group for survival. And if they're waking up and doing the thing, you're going to do the thing. If they're not procrastinating, if they're eating healthy, you're going to eat healthy. Like that's, if you want to change your eating habits, spend time with athletes. If you study the people who become successful in say a coaching program with 100 people, 100 students in there, and there's say 10 that become successful, I can guarantee it's the 10 that change their environment in the same program, same framework, same teaching, same group coaching call every single week, same whatever it is. The 10 that excelled the most consciously changed their environment, which is their peer group, and they leveled up their peer group, and hence they became more successful. It's impossible to fail when you're hanging around with successful people, but it's also very difficult to succeed when you're hanging around people who are in a life of crime and all that. So
I think it's fascinating how much our environments can really dictate the life that we live.
Yeah.
If we come back to that in a moment and go a little deeper into the ultimate hero story framework, if you don't mind just breaking down what exactly that is, and then I think that might serve as a good compass to kind of help navigate the rest of today's conversation.
Great. So every great story opens up, and I call this the Superman framework, which is the 5 S's. So S number 1 is every great story opens up with a scene. And a scene, and you could call it context or pre-frame or setting the stage, kind of like every great story paints a picture or the mood of how you want that story to go. So you could say, okay, it was a Monday morning at 9 o'clock and I woke up and I realized I was already late for work because my alarm didn't go off. Now we're setting the scene. So now, like, we've got to paint the picture of how we want the story to go.
It's like an opening moment in a movie or something.
Yeah, it's exactly like an opening movie. It opens up with a scene which sometimes has a timeline or has some sort of picture or has a character that enters kind of like the scenario, or even potentially what might be coming might be a problem or another character. So every great story opens up with the scene. You got to just paint the picture of the scene first before you reveal the next S in the framework. The second S is then there's a struggle. So the scene opens up and then there's a struggle. Now, a struggle could be the enemy, the problem, the battle, some tragedy or some problem that happens from the scene. And so now we're introducing, okay, now there's conflict within what we're painting. And so the struggle could be an internal struggle from the character or an external struggle for something happening outside. And so every great story, number one, opens up with a great scene, but then has a struggle, because then you got watch, like as a viewer or as a listener, you're thinking, whoa, okay, this is a problem. And then you start questioning in your mind, how are they going to solve it? Or what are they going to do? Or what's going to happen next? Because the mind cannot live in open loops, which is like, you create some curiosity and now the mind cannot close it. And so if you introduce a problem, everybody needs to see what the solution is. So
right. It's like when you see a viral video and then it cuts off.
Yes.
And you're like annoyed about it.
Yeah.
So then there's the opening scene and then there's some kind of struggle. Why is the struggle such a crucial moment? Like what's really happening in the brain?
Yeah. People love to see transformation. People love to see people rise and see that transformation. And in order for someone to rise, they have to overcome a struggle. And the struggle could be internal or external. Now, most great stories have both, the internal struggle and the external struggle. And then the converse is also true. People also love people falling from fame and the struggle of keeping or holding the fame. So people, as just human nature, we love to see transformation or defamation. Most of the time it's transformation. People love to see that rags to riches story. They love to see that hero's journey from nobody to somebody, from poor to rich, from nothing to something. That whole journey and that whole process only becomes valuable if there was a worthy struggle. Like, imagine there was a movie where Tom met Mary and they just got married and that was it. You know what I mean?
It's not a very good movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There was no struggle. So you need to have the struggle because it makes it worthy. I don't want to say that people love drama, but they kind of do. They kind of do. Like, it's dramatic. It's awesome. It creates curiosity, and that's what makes life worthwhile.
Why is it that struggle in a story makes something relatable?
Because everyone is going through a struggle, yeah, and everyone wants to be able to see themselves in that character or in that movie or in that story to say, wow, that's just like me. Or they want to say, wow, my problem's not that bad.
Now you're like, okay, I understand the context of the scene. Now it's relatable because you're like, I want to see what happens, or me too. I share the same struggle.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the step after that is you need to explain on how you are looking to solve the struggle or overcome the battle or overcome the thing. So the character or the person in the story is like, they got this problem and now they have to try to fix it. But in order to fix it, they're trying and trying and trying, but nothing's working, and they keep on trying and nothing's working. And you always get the sense that they're going to fail and maybe they're not going to even beat the struggle or pass the test. And every time before they get the solution, which is the fourth S, but there has a moment in time where it's a switch, where it's like they almost gave up, but something happened, an aha moment happened, and everything turned around. And so if you look at every problem in your life that you solved, before you solved it, there was a turning point. We call it a switch. We call it the aha moment. We call it the break point. We call it the point of no return. We call it like there was always something. If you can pinpoint the turning point where that thing happened, that's when the story becomes powerful, because people want to know what happened to turn that whole situation around. Was it a book? Was it something you read? Was it like something came? Was it they found the fifth stone in like Avengers? Like something happened where everything turned around, like this aha moment. And that aha moment creates the internal transformation for the viewer, because it's like, oh, that's how they did it. It wasn't easy, but that's the thing that created the whole transformation that led to the fourth S, which is the solution. So most great stories will always have the aha moment, and you'll notice a bad story will not have it.
So if you take like a popular and like a famous movie like The Wolf of Wall Street, for example, and the opening scene, paints a picture of what you're about to be in for the movie. Then you go through his story and his struggle around, trying to get the money that he wants to have. But then there's like a moment where like the rubber hits the road for him, and there's a switch from like when he goes from trying to figure out how to find his place in the world to then absolutely synchronizing with what it was. This defining pivotal moment is the piece that captivates people. Like what exactly is happening there in the human mind?
This is a great question. It is, from a technical point of view, it's the identity shift. And so when someone goes through a shift of their old person to the new person, it's like, I'm not the same person anymore. I'm not like that anymore. This is the old me. I'm now a brand new person. And that's the shift from, say, for example, I'm a bad father to now I'm a great father.
And that's the moment where people, get goosebumps, or they can really connect. Like, what's the pull and what's the attraction to that moment in a story?
Because everybody wants to spend time with people they want to be like, or people like them.
And if you think about social media at scale, that's really what that platform is.
That's correct. And that's why personal branding is even more of a thing now, because there's so many, I just want to be like Dane, or I don't want to be like, Russell, or I want to be like whatever it is. There's so many, like, it's like secretly they want to be like you, or they see something in you that's just like them.
Interesting. And then the final stage, the fifth stage, what's that?
Yep. So we got the solution. They found out the way. They found the solution. And then the fifth stage is arguably the most important, is the significance of the story. So what's the point of this whole story? What's the moral? What's the lesson? Why did I share all of this story with you? I shared this because action precedes clarity. I shared this because if you say you can't, you must, So what is the point of the story? You must always end with I call it a power lesson, or the significance of the story. And that ties everything together.
So if the fifth stage is the significance and the punchline, or, the moral of the story, why is that the final piece? Why is that so important?
That's the part where you want your audience to get the lesson from. And you can have the same story, but 100 different lessons. Same story, 100 different lessons. And so I could share the same story, but then depending on where my audience is at, I could give a different lesson every single time for the exact same story.
Now, just to unpack this a little further, why is explicitly stating the lesson or moral of the story is such an effective marketing tool?
Wow. Well, in marketing, the goal is to have someone that doesn't know, like, or trust you do what you want them to do, but for their reasons. And so you want to frame in their mind like the meaning or the thing that you kind of want them to do. So, for example, if you want them to maybe trust you more, then you want to frame in their mind, and I'm going to share you this story is because I'm not like every other coach that you've seen online. I will tell you the truth that it's hard when it's hard. I will tell you the truth, and this is the easier way, So now we want to frame in their mind of how you want them to perceive you. And so that final part, that lesson, is framing your brand. It's framing your message. It's framing your product. It's framing whatever you want them to do. And if you don't end with that lesson or that frame, then they will make it up, and you don't want them to.
Why not?
Because they could make up anything that's A, not true, or B, it doesn't serve them. For example, you tell a story and you don't end with a power line and saying that, I share this because I want you to believe that if I can do it, so can you. So that's the punchline. If I don't end with that and I leave it for them to make it up, they may say, well, he's different. I can't do it.
So you need to make it clear.
Yes.
And you need to really drive the point.
Yeah. I really believe that if we need to control the narrative of how we are perceived in the marketplace, and so it's really important that we are very deliberate of how we communicate and how we want us to be perceived out there. And if we don't end with that kind of last moral or that significance of everything we share, then our brand is left to our audience to decide. And I don't want our audience to make that decision because we spend so much time doing all the groundwork. And so we want to kind of, precede that. In sales, I believe that the number one sales strategy is all in marketing and pre-framing. The best sale closers, they'll still struggle if you don't give them 1 foot putt. If you're dating someone for 10 years and you were like the best boyfriend ever and it came to the proposal and you fully messed up the proposal, like everything went wrong, but you were the best boyfriend for 10 years, like she's still going to say yes. The best proposal is not the key. It's how we've done the marketing or the pre-framing leading up to that does the sale. And so that's what I see marketing as. If we don't do that deliberately, then we're not really serving our clients to the best of their ability and helping them win.
So if someone's deploying this formula and they're using it for whatever means that they want to deploy it for, what are some of the additional things that they should be conscious of around this? Are there other things that they should be peppering into their story to make it more relevant to their target audience? Yeah,
this is a great question. So to start with the end in mind, like what is the punchline first? And when you start that way, you can reverse engineer the story a lot better because most people, they start at the beginning. And I know you should start at the beginning, but that's kind of like the hack there. Like what is the punchline? What's the significance? Reverse engineer from there and you will have an amazing story that ends so well. So that would be my tip. And so when you're starting the end in mind, for example, you may look at a customer or a prospect or someone that you're dealing with or a potential lead or even a client. Like, you're thinking, okay, what do I want for this client, or what do they want, or what do they need right now? What's the outcome? Boom. Okay, great. They need to hear this right now, where it's self-belief or to overcome perfectionism or imposter, where it is. Great. Okay, I've got the punchline. Now I will just create a story around it.
So like, for example, if your audience's challenge is imposter syndrome, that would be the punchline, how to deal with imposter syndrome or how you yourself overcame it. Then you would reverse that all the way back to the opening scene.
That's correct.
And so forth.
Yeah.
Okay. Clients want it all. A slick-looking website that can run their business and scale with their success. Wix Studio is built for that. Plan out your client's whole site in seconds with AI-powered site mapping and wireframing. Then when everyone's on the same page, jump into the creative, starting off in Figma or in the Wix Studio editor with super precise layouting tools like Grid, Stack, and Flexbox. Go above and beyond the brief with no-code animations, custom CSS, and built-in business solutions. And make your whole vision responsive in a click. And there's zero need to break a sweat when clients grow fast. A dynamic CMS with global design settings and reusable assets lets you turn one page into hundreds. Design smoother and deliver sooner. Go to wixstudio.com. Are there universal challenges that everyone typically has when you're trying to position yourself as an expert of your domain or as a personal brand?
I call this 7 Ps, 7 deadly Ps. The universal that stops anyone from achieving what they want in life. And it will go in sequential order of what's the most damaging. And I teach this at my events. I don't think I've ever shared this anywhere before. The first one is a pessimist.
Okay.
So
the negative person.
Yeah, like skeptical of everything. That won't work. Pessimist, kind of. We all know that. The negative Nancy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that. They're always like this. Like they're always looking for what's wrong. They're just everything's a scam. It's all a scam. Elon Musk and Trump. That big argument was a scam, and it might be. I don't know, but it's all a show.
Yeah.
Like to them. They're just unconvincible. And so if you're a pessimist, you are very unlikely to achieve anything in life, yet alone great relationships, because you're always nitpicking and looking for And in reality, to achieve a great goal, you need hope.
Right.
You need faith. And pessimist is an antithesis of faith and hope.
Right. The like the kryptonite.
It is.
Yeah.
And so how can you become successful if you're negating the thing that you need, which is faith and hope? So that's number one. I used to be a pessimist, and everyone goes through these phases of pessimism. Like, I remember the first time I listened to a Tony Robbins CD, and I know some people are pessimists against Tony Robbins. I totally get it. Like, it's a cult, he's like a scammer, he's like a whatever. I used to think that too. And I remember the first CD I listened to Tony Robbins, it was 10 years ago. And I put it on. It was called Personal Power, a 30-day program on CD.
I know the one. Yes.
Yeah. And the first session was, you can change who you are. And I thought, this is all BS. You can't change who you are. I was a pessimist. This guy's a scam. A leopard can't change its spots. It's all BS. I didn't touch it for 2 years, because I was a massive pessimist.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing that stops people. The second P is the procrastinator. So we come from pessimist to, okay, now maybe believe, but I'll procrastinate. And I'll leave it to later. Everybody's procrastinated before. They don't put any urgency on themselves. They're just like, you know what? Yeah, now's not a good time, whatever the case may be. And so if you procrastinate, you're either never going to get what you want, or you delay what you want. Everyone's got a friend who's always late to the party on everything.
Yeah.
And they're just like, should I, shouldn't I? I don't know if they're extremely indecisive. They're like, okay, I'll just do it later. So that's the procrastinator. And procrastinators don't get things done. They don't hit their dreams. And if you're an entrepreneur and you got team members and they're procrastinator, they're getting fired pretty much straight away. Like, you're not hiring a procrastinator. And if you're in a spousal relationship, particularly if you're a man, I can guarantee that your spouse, in a male-female relationship, your wife does not respect you because you can't make a decision, you can't just take action, you just procrastinate all the time. So it's kind of like the opposite of a strong decision maker is a procrastinator. That's the second P. The third P is the periodic.
The periodic.
Yeah.
Okay. What's that?
Inconsistent.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So now you're not procrastinating anymore. You're not a pessimist anymore. You're doing the work, but you're extremely inconsistent. You're hot and cold, up and down, periodic. And so, for example, in content marketing, what's more important than quality content is consistent content.
Right.
And yeah, it is. Like, I'd rather you just do consistently than just one quality YouTube video in 12 months. At least you posted 50 7 out of 10s rather than one 10 out of 10. I know some people might say, oh, what if that one 10 out of 10 becomes viral? But I'd rather you do 7 out of 10 work, but do it every day. So consistency compounds. And people don't understand that in the principle, in the book Influence by Cialdini, one of the laws of influence is consistency. And so if you're up and down, hot and cold, you're inconsistent, you lose a lot of trust in the marketplace and people don't trust you. We call them, in a relationship, we call them flaky. And no one, you know what I mean? Like, we all have that flaky friend.
Yeah, we do. And this is so interesting because I'm thinking back through like recent conversations I've had, and it makes sense because if you look at, people at a periodic, it's almost like they want the remedy of the opposite, but they're kind of going through these stages of starting and stopping and being excited and being, hot one moment because they have a ton of motivation. And then the next, they're like, I don't feel like doing it this week. So then all their momentum kind of stops.
From a friendship level, from a marketing, you cannot be inconsistent. You cannot be flaky with your marketing. You cannot be flaky with your business. You can't be flaky as a friend, as a husband, as a wife, as a whatever it is. It's just, you cannot be. But it's better than being a procrastinator. It's better than being a pessimist, but it's still not good, and it stops people from achieving success. And I'll give an analogy, kind of like a magnifying glass. In order to burn a leaf, you need to hold it there for about 20 seconds.
Right.
But if you hold it there for 10 seconds, pull away, do another 10, pull away, and you can do that 100 times.
You're never going to get enough concentrated heat.
No,
to burn
exactly.
a hole.
You won't get focus because that's the power of consistency. Like, you get that focus there and then you burn.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to do that. Fourth P is the pretender, which is the imposter. So now you're consistent, but now you feel like an imposter. You feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I feel like I'm going to get found out. Fake it till I make it. Do I have to be someone I'm not? I'm competing against all these big influencers online now, and I don't feel like I compare to them. And then you try to be something you're not, or you try to overinflate your results, and that's the imposter, and you feel this negative energy towards yourself, and so it's very discouraging. You feel like you want to give up, and you create all these stories in your head as to why you're not good enough, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so the imposter becomes super real to you. You feel like you have to pretend and put on this mask, and you feel really incongruent with who you are. And that's mostly the point where people give up, because it's like, this doesn't feel right.
Why is this the point where people give up?
Because it's against their identity.
They haven't made the switch.
They have not made the switch. They have not made a switch that I'm a legit coach. Because, like, for example, in the coaching space, like, if people will tie their identity to how much money they're making, and it's very common, like most business owners do that. If I made $1 million this year, I'm like the best. If I made 10 grand, I'm like crap. So, and that's okay. Like, I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I mean, you shouldn't do it, but everyone does it. It's fine. Like, you will measure your success against how much income you're making in your business. It's natural, because people tie their business to who they are. It's their baby. And so that's normal. But that's the trap. If you are starting out as an entrepreneur or a coach or whatever, and you haven't made $1 yet, because you have to everyone starts on zero, then how do you say I'm a legit coach when I haven't made $1?
So you're looking for some kind of evidence or validation that you're no longer a pretender.
That's correct. And people tie it to money. 99% of people are working in their 9 to 5, and they don't have the courage to leave. But you did. So why are you pretending? They're the ones that are pretending. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we need to realize the fact that you made a decision to actually start this journey, you got to stop believing you're a pretender, because you got to start from zero, and you can't tie your identity from that first dollar to now being a coach. But that's why that first dollar made is so powerful, because they're like, it's legit. I'm a real coach now.
Why is it so dangerous that people attach their identity to a physical outcome?
Because then it's an external source of validation. So you give away your power to something that you don't control.
Oof. Goosebumps.
Yeah.
Yeah, you give me a chicken skin, man. Love it. Okay, now what's the fifth P?
The fifth P is the perfectionist.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the perfectionist has this ideal that everything has to be right, prim, proper, perfect, for the lack of a better word, because they believe that if things are not perfect, then I'm not good enough, or it's not good enough. And that's a cultural conditioning. Like, there's no kid on the planet born saying, I want to be perfect. Like, that's a frame that's been sold to you from society. And I'll go back to parenting, because we're talking about parenting before, from parents. Because what happens when you get something like in parenting, like your kid does something good, it's like perfect. And so the parents set the standard that perfect is the ultimate standard to achieve.
Because the child's looking for validation.
Yeah.
And what the parent focuses on, the child's like, that's my emotional reward.
Yep.
Right.
Because my parent told me it was perfect. Oh, you did the maths, you got all the maths correct. You got it perfect. Oh, you baked that cake perfectly. And so now the kid believes that the ultimate standard is perfection, when it's not. Perfection is not a standard, it's an expectation.
Right.
It's a big difference.
It's a massive difference. So you're saying that the perfectionist in people prevents them from what?
From actually taking action. So they stop and they go into analysis paralysis. They will get all their data, all their ducks lined up in a row. They'll just research, before I sign up with this coach, I'm going to talk to 20 of your testimonials. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or before, before I take action on that first content I need to do, I'm going to watch every single video that's in the library, because I need to tick all the boxes in that sequential order. I have to get it all right before I start, because if I dare get one thing wrong, then I have failed, because my parents told me that everything has to be perfect. And so they delay taking action. They will say, oh my gosh, I'm a recovering perfectionist. When it's really, recovering perfectionist is really saying, I'm really just scared to do things messy.
Oh.
So I say messy is sexy. Take messy action. Messy is sexy. And so it delays taking action, or it takes them too long, or when they do it, it's never good enough. And so the trap of perfectionism is, even if you do get it, which you don't, you'll never feel like it's enough. And so in intimate relationships, you'll know if you're dating a perfectionist, because it's whatever you do for them is never enough.
Yeah.
So if you're a perfectionist, your business doesn't suffer. Everything suffers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's deep, man. I love this. So yeah, if you don't mind just rolling back through the first 5 and then talking about number 6.
Yeah. So we got the pessimist, the procrastinator, the periodic, the pretender, the perfectionist.
And what's number 6?
The pleaser, the person that places more validation on other people's opinions than their own, the person that's always looking for outside acceptance, the person that's being someone they're not to try to fulfill everybody else's needs, the person that will never speak up, the person that's afraid of conflict. In sales, the pleaser is terrible because you'll always end up coaching them and not actually giving what they need, or the person that tells you what you want to hear but not what you need to hear. The person that will hold internal resentment because they never voice up what they really want to feel or say or be heard or seen. The pleaser is a person that will conform to every single thing around them or every person around them. And so when it comes to marketing, they're not going to be a contrarian. They're not going to be a person that's going to be cut through the noise. They're not going to say something that's outside the box. The person that's a pleaser in a coaching context will end up or in a dating context will end up friend zoning. So you know what I mean? And so imagine friend zoning your prospects. You will never make a sale. And friend zoning your clients, they'll never respect you. They'll just leave. You don't create loyalty from friend zoning. You know what I mean?
I've never thought about the concept of friend zoning, but in the sales perspective.
Yeah.
That's really funny. Yeah.
That's right. That's what a pleaser is. The pleaser.
So if you're like too pleasing as a sales rep, people are just going to be like, I can walk all over this person.
100%. And even being a CEO, like it is brutal, you know, like you're going to get hatred out there, you're going to get haters, and you know, you do something and if it goes viral and there's 1,000 comments, there's going to be, 100 comments of people saying you're a scam and this is BS, this is all fake, and you have all those things coming. If you're a pleaser and you let that affect you, then that'll be the last post you ever do, because you're pleasing. Like, you know, you have this ideal that everybody should love you, everybody should like you, and so it stops you in your tracks because you don't really voice out your real message and what you really want to share. And people know it, people sense it, people feel it.
And what's number 7?
Is the worst one of all is pride. Yeah. And not I'm proud of my kids pride, I'm proud of my achievement pride, I'm proud of, you know, what I've done with my life pride, but the pride that says, I'm too good for this. It won't work for me because I'm different.
I see. Which comes up a lot for people.
Yeah.
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 I can't do that because.
Exactly. The same pride that says, you know what, I don't want to try because I'm scared that I'll look bad. You know, I talked about before, there's no such thing as people that are afraid of failing. It's people afraid of other people seeing them fail, and that's all due to pride. The pride that slams the door in your spouse's face, the pride that resents, the pride that doesn't forget or forgive, the pride that seeks vengeance, the pride that says, you know, I see it working for them, but it will never work for me because insert your 5 stories, because you're different. I see it. You know what? The pride that will sit back and have the arms crossed and say, you know what? I'm not coachable, or I don't need help, or, you know, I'm too good to put my hand up. That pride destroys everything in your life, not just business, but your life. And that's the ultimate destroyer of the 7 Ps, worse than everything we discussed right up to this point. And I really believe that I heard this great quote from my friend. If you want to relieve the pride, the antidote to that is, he said this thing called, every single day you need to empty the glory.
Wow.
Yeah, such a powerful frame, like empty the glory, meaning that I guess how I take it is humility and grace and gratitude is the antidote of the ego. And so if we can get to the end of our day and say, you know what, today was great because this person helped me, or today was great because God or grace or faith helped me, or today was great because my wife or my kids or my team, like I didn't create this, my team did this. Like when you empty the glory every single day, then that's the way for you to continually stay humble, but also let go of your pride and your ego. And that saying to me has stuck with me for a very long time. And emptying the glory is just a great way to live your life moving forward.
It's so powerful just to have such a simple concept, because I can see people, they get pent up with ego and then they get defensive and then they entrench themselves in these stories and these beliefs. But you're saying to metaphorically like go of that and do that consistently allows people to kind of decompress their pride.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, when you're thinking about these 7 Ps, and like these are fantastic because I think you're adding these great frameworks to these things that can hold people back. And if you're thinking about those that are listening that are like, okay, cool, I can craft a story with the 5 S's and I can understand that my target audience might be suffering with the 7 Ps. If we're then moving this conversation today into more of a, let's talk about sales and how this system stitches together so someone can then start to scale their business or grow their fan base or build their audience. How does someone use these 7 Ps to then start to stitch in their story to then start growing their business?
Right. This is a great question. So once you understand those 7 Ps from a sales or even marketing perspective, and you know your ideal client and you know which one is stopping them, the way you handle the objection, for example, if they're feeling the pleaser or the pretender or the perfectionist or whatever the P you feel like they're having right now, the way you handle it is through a story using the 5S framework. And the punchline is the punchline that resolves that P or reframes that P or helps them see it in a very different way.
Okay, and then you would say that people typically are dealing with the same kind of Ps, or is it like every industry has all 7?
All 7. It is universal. And for someone listening right now, some of them are probably thinking, I've got all 7.
I'm going back through my mind. I'm like, I've been the pessimist. Yeah. I've been the perfectionist. I've been the periodic. Like we've all been all of these. Yeah, and it's contextual
things too. Like there's probably some areas of your life where you're more in this than another area of your life too.
So like in the gym, you're one, but at work, you're another.
Awareness is the key to solving your problems. Like just be aware first and then, okay, great, awesome. That's the problem. Okay, now I know what I need to do. So
that totally makes sense to me and that really resonates. It's like if you can have an innate understanding around how people can kind of get bogged down in these 7 Ps and you can craft your story, you can start to connect the dots for people.
Yeah, 100%.
So if we're to think more about the sales side of your business, let's say someone's consumed these stories. What exactly is your sales process to then converting them into a paying customer?
Yeah. So I said before, marketing does most of the sales for you. It's kind of like playing golf and getting the ball onto the green and getting a 1-foot putt for the sales. So sales becomes 100 times easier when you have just killer marketing. And so that's number one. And so make sure you have a great marketing process to build know, like, and trust to the point where they need to make a decision and hand over money because that's the transaction. Then it becomes an easy 1-foot putt for them and for your sales team. So
the heavy lifting's kind of done once the story's understood and the marketing is done, the heavy lift.
Yeah, correct. And so our personal sales process is, I know like I'm in the ClickFunnels world and all that kind of stuff and they sell through a funnel, but we still value human interaction when it comes to selling. I know it's an online space now and so many people buy things without a human interaction these days and you can, and I've done it and I still do it. But for me, I still believe that, the best way to sell is through actual human interaction. And even today, our internet completely cut itself today. And it's my fault. We've been living in this house for a year and we never connected the internet. It was being connected for the previous owner for a whole year, literally. And it got cut out today and I realized, because the whole year membership ran out or whatever. So I didn't have internet and I went onto Telstra and I tried to get some support. And, they have AI that kind of supports you. But I immediately I want to speak to a real person because that's the way I like to deal with sales. And so I waited for a real person. I still believe it's, the best way to sell in today's world, especially with AI taking over and all that kind of stuff. Authenticity and that whole sales process is the best way to do it.
Why is that the case? Because I talk to people often and they want to hand the sales process over to something automatic, digital, usually from my experience, because they're either a novice at selling, or B, they find it terrifying and they don't want to have to deal with it. Why is the human component of sales such an important component for a business?
Because it taps into the deepest human desire to feel understood and to feel seen. And a human just does that better than technology does. You're speaking to a real person, and
But why is that the case? Like, how is it? Let's say hypothetically, we can get a digital variant of the process to take this and to then communicate with the customer, or even having an AI have a conversation around the same things in a proxy case for a human.
I believe it comes down to your human need for connection with another human being. So I talked about it in Mexico last week. I said, with AI taking over, and the reality is, if you're looking to hire a parenting coach and you say, I'm my 11-year-old daughter, she's hanging out with some wrong friends right now. Hey coach, what should I do? How do I communicate with her? If you ask your coach that you paid $5,000 for, and you ask ChatGPT that same question, ChatGPT will probably give you a better answer than the coach.
Right.
And it's a thorough answer, and it'll give you a 5-step process on how to deal with it. That's how powerful AI is. And so where does it leave the consulting space? People will always want a community. They always want connection. And so the future of business, I believe, particularly in our industry, is when we sell experiences and we sell community. And so it's this deep human desire to belong to community. And they've even done studies on this. So if you look up the cities in the world, top 3 cities in the world, I believe 2 is in Japan and 1 is in near Monaco?
Okay.
With the highest life expectancy. And they're all over 90, 91, 92, 93.
Wow, okay.
And they thought, well, is it diet? Very different diets, processed foods, nothing related to diet. The number one fact that they had in common with the cities in the world with the highest life expectancy was their connection to their community.
Wow.
They were closer to their family. They spent more time with their friends. That resulted in a higher life expectancy, more than diet, more than anything else. It was crazy. So we are built for survival from that aspect. It's an innate human need to be connected to another human being. And that's why there's a lot of problems now with, urban sprawl and all that kind of stuff, people living alone and people dying younger because they're not connected to community anymore. And so it's even proven that we live longer when we're connected to our families. And so that's why I believe that this sales process and connecting to another person, it's just built into us to relate to another person.
Now, if we move back into the marketing component of this, you're saying that the connective tissue right now, where the industry's moving, despite AI, is about human experience and human community.
Yeah.
Do you think that AI could proxy that or attempt to replace that?
It's a really good question. I thought if AI could replace community, it might, you could have AI that has great leadership skills and brings a group of people together and becomes kind of like the DJ of the house and plays great music and everyone's together and loving the music. So, and we've all been to that where, I don't know if we've all been to it. I have, where I've seen Martin Garrix live, which is awesome, but I've also seen a non-Martin Garrix DJ who plays Martin Garrix songs and does great sets and all that. And the vibe is still pretty good. You know what I mean? And so I believe that AI could get to the point where it could create communities like a DJ, it could create a good set like that. I think that could happen. I don't think AI could ever replace going to a real live concert or that kind of thing.
There's something about it, even when you're doing a Zoom call with a loved one or friends or a prospect, the energy exchange is often different when you're in person.
Yeah.
And we do, for example, virtual workshops for branding, there's just a different substance when you're in a room Like
Yeah.
even like the language and the words aren't different, but the feeling is different. The understanding of each other is different. The trust and the bond is a little stronger. And, I like, there's a DJ I love. His name is Mark Ribier. I listened to his stuff for years, but like nothing compared to like being in the same room around other people that love him and like vibing out to that together.
And I think that will become a thing too, because now with AI, I believe people can have more disposable income because it's like, you don't have to spend money on this and you don't have to spend money because AI does everything for you at a much cheaper rate, at a much faster rate. And so from a disposable income point of view, you don't have to spend money on this and this and this. Your life becomes so much easier. And so where is that money going to go? Experiences. And so if you can start to sell experiences packaged in your business, then you're going to be further ahead. And so that's what we're going to be doing over the next couple of years. And so, for example, I'm creating Richmond AI right now, and it's in its beta form. It sounds way too Australian. I don't like it, but we're going to try to. I'm not going to try to make it sound more Asian. Imagine that though. Richmond AI, like that would be like the funniest AI ever. I should do that. Would you like to have Richmond in Asian accent or not? Like, yeah, that would be funny. And so that's going to take over the one-on-one coaching we do in our communities, and also.
And for context, you're essentially replacing yourself with an AI version of you.
Yeah, it's like ChatGPT, but it's very contextual to what we teach and what I do.
Like as though I'm asking you questions now, it would understand how you would answer them.
Exactly. Yeah. It might say, hey, Richmond, can you help me, give me advice or give me feedback on my origin story? Here's my origin story. Can you give me feedback? And then I will give feedback following the 5S framework.
Interesting. And I think this is where you raise a good point, because let's say that exists. I guarantee, and I'm not quite sure why, but people would much prefer to actually talk to you versus the AI.
That's correct.
AI is a great option, but if you had, you can actually talk to Richmond Live, or you can just talk to the AI, there's probably a price disparagement between the two.
There is.
But if the human in front of that option were to have a choice, they're probably going to pick you.
Yes, and that's what we're going to do. So we're going to have Richmond AI to do like most of the coaching, which is on demand, on call. And so then if I'm not delivering anymore, or if I'm not coaching anymore, or if they don't need my help anymore in that context, so we're going to actually, me and Tony, we're going to travel every month to a city in the world, because our clients are all international. It's like we're doing a 2-day event, and we're gonna have fun together. And so now they got Richmond AI for coaching, but then they get the experience of seeing us in person as well. Yeah. And now we've got the best of both worlds. So then we can have fun, and we can have a great dinner together. We can go out clubbing or partying or whatever, or just have a thinking day, or go on a yacht, or whatever the thing is, but have a great experience together. And we'll just do that every single month and go around. So they get content, they get value, but also they get the experience part of it.
Like if you think about someone had the choice between an AI option of you and the actual you, the value of you understanding them and actually being present with them, there's a value exchange on just even that.
There is, yeah. Which means you can just charge more. Like, just raise your prices.
Yo, my name's Dane Walker, and I am disgustingly obsessed with branding. I had to figure out a way to do branding every single day, so I branded myself. Then, I started my agency, Rival. And hired a team of branding mavericks hell-bent on creating brands so good that they'll make your competition shit their pants. So here's the thing, you want your brand to go viral, and Rival makes brands go viral. That's why we're offering you a free 30-minute branding session to get an expert's opinion. If you don't believe me, the proof is in the pudding. Here's what clients have to say about Rival.
Rival is trusted by brands like Nutrition Warehouse, Light My Bricks, and Vumi.
So if you want to absolutely smoke the competition and make your brand go viral, hit the link below and book in your free 30-minute branding session.
So if we're thinking about the sales process in the environment of someone who's trying to be an advisor or a coach, what are some of the things that they commonly get wrong that are easy to fix?
Yeah, good. The offer is king. The offer is king. You can fix any objection with the offer. Just people are not flexible. They're just not flexible with the offer.
So can you define what an offer is and how to make sure when you create one that it actually works?
Yeah. So, I mean, everybody knows Alex Hormozy. I mean, he just crushed the market with his book, you know, $100 million offers, make an offer so good that your prospects feel stupid saying no. But it really is that. So first of all, the secret to selling is find out what they want, go get it, go give it to them. And most people, number one, they don't do the research to find out what people want. Like, what do they really, really want? And
Can you define what that might look like? Because sometimes people struggle to pinpoint that.
Yep. So when you're finding out what people want, you need to look on two levels. Number one, what do they say they want? So they want more time, they want less effort, less, like more convenience, more time, more convenience, and generally more money. And so if you can help someone make more money, get more time back, and make their life easy in some way, shape, or form through convenience or less effort, or whatever the case may be, then that's what they want. Like, that's what they're saying. Everybody is saying a version of one of those three things. I either want more money, more time, or something easier, more convenient. Now, underneath that is the need structure. And now we got to say, hey, if I have an offer that gives them what they want of those three categories, right? What do they need? Now, the need structure is a little bit different. This is where we need to understand a little bit deep into human psychology. And so just to be on the safe side, there are 6 needs, but if you wanted to name the 2 needs that people want the most right now, is they have a need for status or significance and a need for certainty. And so if you can hit them on those 2 needs, it's how is my thing going to give them more certainty and or more status, coupled with having more money, time, or convenience, then I'm going to really be able to create an offer that's going to sell to them. And so that's a deeper part.
Yeah, I love what you're talking about here, and I had a conversation earlier today with someone around Tony Robbins' 6 core human needs, and this has been one of my favorite pieces of literature for at least a decade.
Oh, agree.
And it's so powerful, and every time I return to it, it really blows my mind how much of our lives are built around these 6 core needs. And the way I understand it, the first one is the need for significance, praise, to be approved of by others, whether it be on Instagram, by my family and my loved ones, my friendship circle, the public, my workplace. I want to be and feel significant and praised. 2 is a sense of certainty, a sense of security, a sense of like, I'm safe, I have a roof over my head, money's going to be in my bank on Friday, bills will be paid, the world's not going to come to an end. But then also simultaneously a level of uncertainty, a level of adventure, a level of risk. It makes things a bit more exciting. Then there's love and connection. Do I feel love and connected to my friends, to my workplace, to, the powers that be? The next one is growth and feeling a sense of progression, or I'm going somewhere. The last one, as I understand it, is contribution, like me giving back to the world. I become wealthy, now I want to teach others. I became a great parent, now I want to help other parents. When you're looking at these 6 core human needs, how much of these drive people's buying decisions?
From a marketing or sales level, it is everything. So there's 2 things with that. Number one, understand which needs is driving your ideal client. That's why when you asked before, which story should I tell? Well, it depends who you're selling to.
Okay, so if you're selling a Rolex, people that are buying that, they desire status and significance.
Yes.
They're not seeking, contribution. So their driving behavior is built upon something quite different maybe to someone else who doesn't care about a Rolex.
That's correct. Yeah. So understanding that, and then also understanding that sometimes to a person, a Rolex, sometimes someone could be significance driven, but how they meet significance
might not be through a physical item.
Yeah, exactly. It might be like, I'm a monk, and I'm a monk because I'm the most spiritual person on the planet.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, and then well, a monk doesn't really say it like that. But, now we know what's driving you. It's like, I'm so spiritual, everything is, so some people go ultra spiritual to meet their need for significance.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're saying these are more subversive, more under the hood. People don't really publicly proclaim these things.
No, because
So
they don't
there's-
know it.
There's things that they say that they want, but then underneath the surface, it's probably one of these 6 things.
Yeah, that's correct. The only way to know someone's true values is to look at where their money is going and where their time is going.
Wow.
That is the only way to know someone's true values.
So how do you identify this in your target audience?
Well, yeah, you can't really go, give me your bank account. And, you know,
But I guess you could look at their clothing,
That's-
their handbag, what car they
Yeah.
came in, where they live.
that's correct. What did they do the last week? What's in their calendar? Like literally, where were they? Like, you know, you may say it's like, oh, like a dad may say, like, I love my kids so much. Family's number one, but they worked 100 hours that week. Well, no, work's number one for you. Achievement's number one for you. Because their time was not there. You know, so where people spend their time and their money dictates their values. And that's the human needs. And so you can listen to that, you know, and people say, oh my gosh, like, you know, I really value saving and financial security, but you know, and nothing wrong with going on Friday nights and shouting all your friends' shots. Like nothing wrong with that. Like, you know, but that's where their values are. Like they love to go on a Friday night, shout their friends' shots. And I do that. I mean, I shout shots. That's cool. But that's the only objective measurement of someone's values.
My friend shared a story with me, and he's quite public. His name's Vin Jiang.
Yeah.
And he was saying to me that him and his wife were at a function, and he was asked the question, like, what do you value? And he said, my number one value is family. And he said his wife gave him a strange look. And he said, when he was sharing this story, that if you know anything about Asian women, when they give you a look, it means a lot more than what it might look like. So then he said on the drive home, it was just awkward tension in the car. And he said to her, like, what's wrong? And she said, look, frankly, I don't mind how hard you work, but don't ever lie to people about what your value set is.
Wow.
And he had this gut-wrenching moment where he realized he'd said and proclaimed his number one value is family, but here he is, his beautiful wife, challenging him on that limiting belief and that not being his real value, which then set him on a course of working on how does he recontribute and reconstitute his own value system so that it is integrated with what he really believes. So he's not saying one thing and doing another, which comes back to your 7 Ps, where it's like, if people feel like an imposter, it can really rattle them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you believe people buy primarily based on who they want to become more rather than what they want to have second?
I believe there are 2 types of buyers, right? There are people out there who are so driven on personal outcome that they don't care who they buy from. They just want to buy the thing to get the result for themselves, and it doesn't really matter. But there's not many of those. Like the majority of people will buy from someone who they want to be like, and that's the truth of it. And that's why I say this, like people like who are starting out saying, oh, I don't have 100 testimonials. I can't get started. Or I could never sell like that. Or I feel like a fraud because I don't have 100 testimonials. And I say to them, you do. It's in the mirror. You are worth 100 testimonials. In fact, you're worth 1,000 testimonials. People don't understand that people are buying people they want to be like, and they don't, like, of course, 100 testimonials is useful and helpful and all that kind of stuff. But the fact is, if you are selling a 6-pack and you got 100 testimonials, but you don't have a 6-pack, you're never selling a 6-pack.
Right.
And I've seen, and whether I personally don't like this, but someone watching this will be one of those people for sure. Like, 8 and 9-figure entrepreneurs who have been in the game for 5+ years, and they don't have 100 testimonials. They only got 5 that they use on repeat forever. And they're making a killing because they themselves are worth 100 testimonials. And that's probably not a good thing in that context. But the point I'm trying to say is, like, for a beginner who's feeling imposter, know that you're worth 100 testimonials. That's why I'm saying if you want to be a life coach and you're fat, broke, or divorced, then make sure you're your own testimonial first.
Right.
And then go out there and do it. Like it'll be the best.
So it's more important that you speak from within rather than from external.
That's right. Most people, I believe, they're buying people who they resonate with more than anything right now, and who they secretly want to aspire to be towards.
When you're going through this process, let's say someone is on a sales call, it's a human-to-human interaction. Is there a fundamental difference between persuasion and convincing? Yeah,
persuasion is letting them decide on their reasons. Convincing is your reasons. Because the horse is at the water, right? And you are forcing the horse to drink the water by holding its neck down and just drink. Or you can say, you know what? Here's some salt. Right? And they're like, I'm thirsty now. Can I have some water? Great. I'm glad you asked. Yeah. And that's why one of the best closing lines in a sales call is, where to from here? So
explain that.
If they are buying for their reasons, it's intrinsic motivation. And so they're more likely to do the work and follow through. If they're buying for your reasons, they're not going to sustain doing the work and they're not going to follow through. And then it's for your reasons, it's going to fall flat. And then they're not going to get great results. And that leads to resentment. It leads to refunds. It leads to chargebacks. It leads to you looking bad because it was all for your reasons. And so that's number one. And then the second reason is when you do that, we call this kind of inductive coaching. So you're giving them permission to transform themselves rather than you transforming them. So
it's like, when you talk to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, they won't tell the patron what to do. They lead them to their own conclusion.
Yep, that is true, coach. I was on stage at Russell Brunson's mastermind. There was a small group, there's only 20 of us, and everyone comes and they have to present for 15 minutes on what's working best in their business. So everyone gets value. And then you got another 15 minutes to say, okay, this is where I'm stuck the most. Can you help? And then the mastermind kind of throws in their 2 cents on how to help. And there's always going to be someone in the room who solved that problem and he can help you. So you're adding value, you're also getting value from the mastermind. And my stuck point at the point in time was webinar show rates were really low and I was struggling to fill up our webinars, and that was really it. I just started kind of doing webinars back then because I was running challenges, 5-day challenges. I wasn't really the webinar guy, but then I started doing webinars and I was like, wow, this thing is a bit different, And so that was what I was troubleshooting. And then this guy named Myron Gold, and he's sitting in the room, he says, hey, Richmond, just side note, can you draw me your ascension? And I drew it out. And so I had, we got our free community, like you said, and then we got our book, and then, $10, and then we got our $1,000 offer, and then my $25K offer. And there's like, is that it? I'm like, yeah, that's it. And it's like, where's your 100K offer? I'm like, 100K offer? What are you talking about, 100K offer? And why is this even relevant? It's like, Richmond, the reason why you're not growing your business is nothing to do with wellness, because you don't have a 100K off. I'm like, I didn't understand it. And then next minute, Russell jumps in on it. Yeah, how come you don't have a 100K offer? And then this other lady, Eileen, says, yeah, Richmond, I'm surprised you don't have a 100K offer. I'm like, you're surprised? And they all have their own 100K offers. They have 250K offers. Mine's got he's got $1 million offer. I'm like, and this is beyond me. And I could not understand why they were kind of trying to say that to me. And they weren't saying it to really anyone else. And that night we had dinner together. And then Myron said, Richmond, what's your reservation with selling a 100K offer? And I'm thinking, why is he keep on pushing this for? And I said, well, because I number one, I don't think I'm worth it. And number two, what would even be in it? I'd have to sell my soul for 100K. They're going to own me. So he was like, no, this is where you're wrong. And so he played this game. He put out $100 and he said, I've got $100 US. This is in the States. And if you can give me a $10 US, $10 US right now, I'll give you this $100. This is a real game. I would trade you this $100 for $10. And you've got 60 seconds to do it. And I'm like, crap, I put out my wallet and I didn't have US currency. I only had Monopoly money, which is Australians' money. They think it's all Monopoly money. And I'm like, Myron, can I give you $20? And I was like, no, I want $10 US. I'm like, oh crap. How about $50 Australian? That's way more than $10 US. No, I want $10 US. You got 30 seconds left. I'm like, I don't have it. And then 40 seconds goes down. I'm like, crap. And then someone shouts out, Richmond, just borrow the $10 from someone on the table. I'm like, oh, crap. And I turned to Russell. I said, Russell, do you have $10? And Russell pulls out, I don't have $10. I got $5. Now I got $5. And then I said, anyone got $5? And people like try to lend me the other $5. And time was up and I didn't win. I lost it. Lost the game. And I wasn't happy that I lost the game because it was embarrassing. I was so embarrassed. Again, people are not afraid of failing. I was embarrassed. Like, so Ross was there, Myron's there. There was about another 15 of us there. I was so embarrassing because I was choking. I was under pressure. I didn't even think about borrowing $10 from someone next to me. And he said to me, you know why you lost that game? Is because you were so focused on process and not outcome. And so, it was crazy. And so if you can sell someone an outcome of what they're going to get back from $10, which is $100, then don't worry about the process. You don't need to sell your time. You just need to sell outcomes. I was stuck in the time trade ratio in my mind, and that's why I couldn't fathom selling a 100K offer. And he said to me, how many people have you helped get to $1 million? And hit a lot. And I saw what you presented today on Tiny Challenge, and I believe you have one of the most brilliant marketing minds that I've ever seen in 39 years of business. And that's why I was shocked that you didn't have a 100K offer. And that's why I'm pushing you that you need one, because I know people that are dumber than you that have it, and I see something in you that you don't see in yourself right now. And that night, I got the transformation. I was like, wow, this is crazy from that game. And I messaged one of my students, and her name's Kaylee, and I said, Kaylee, I have a $100,000 offer for you. How much do you trust me? And at the time, I didn't even know what was going to be in it, but I knew that I could return her $1 million. And she said, oh, what is it? And I said, oh, I'll tell you tomorrow. She said, no, tell me now. So, and then I said, look, I just need 10,000 down first, and then I'll tell you tomorrow. And she wired 10 grand, sold my first 100K offer. And since then, like, she's made like probably about close to 2 million from that.
Wow.
In like about 6 months, which is crazy because I knew I could do it for her. I knew just if I just commit to it, I'll be able to find a way without any of my one-on-one time. That's the crazy part, because I knew I became so outcome focused on her. And the lesson there was, I share this story because when someone believes in you first, that's where the power comes from. You know, your life will change the moment someone believes in you first. And quite often, you will never get belief in yourself first. It always comes from someone else first. And that's why surrounding yourself with the right people is so important. And so if you're waiting for the belief, don't wait. Just spend time with people who believe in you first, and then borrow their belief in you. And that's how you get a transformation.
Psychologically, in this situation, everyone around you in this group are challenging why you're not on their level.
Yeah. And they see me on their level.
And they see you on their level, which creates this inner conflict.
Yeah.
Which then forces the identity shift.
Correct.
And this is why you're saying it's so crucial that people get around the right people.
100%. I call it the eighth wonder, which is like this invisible force that dictates everything in your life. Your values, your identity, your beliefs, your income, your weight, what you eat. Everything in your life is dictated by this invisible force called the eighth wonder, which is proximity, which is who you spend time with. I always say, like, if I got a cut and someone was to test my blood type is eighth wonder. Like, that's how much I believe in who you spend time with.
How does someone begin that process to find the right community?
Good. So number one, everyone has people they aspire to be like.
Okay.
Right. And so you can find the right communities by this is my first step. Step number one is, it's going to sound harsh, but this will advance your life more than spending time with the right people, is separating yourself from people who are not serving you.
Oh, okay.
So that's that.
Which is tough.
It's tough. And everyone can do that immediately. Like, to say, oh my gosh, how do I find people who are, highly successful and bring them in my circle now? Well, it's probably not going to happen now, but you can definitely cut off people now. That can, and toxic people would do way more, like one toxic person would do way more damage in your life than one good person can do good in your life. You know what I mean?
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Like it's like cancerous. And so if you got someone in your top 5 that's like a super high achiever, there might be like a billionaire, there might be whatever, but you got this other toxic person, like that's worse, you know? So my advice is step number 1, everybody here probably has someone that's toxic in their life, and just spend less time with them, and you'll be way better off. And sometimes the most toxic person in your life is your spouse. And, you know, that's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah. What does someone do if they're aspiring to do something great, build a business, start a community,
Yeah.
and their spouse is the predominant person preventing them from doing it?
Achievement only proves one thing about a person. It's how talented they are, how competent they are. You know, that's it. Achievement only says, okay, this person's competent. Adversity proves a person's character. And so if you want to be successful, achieve, and you'll prove yourself that you're competent. If you want to know who your real friends are, then go through adversity, because then you'll know who the characters in your life really are. And also you'll know yourself too. So the only way to know whether someone is actually going to be there to support you, like fair enough, if you have this big dream and, honey, I want to leave my job and quit, and then I want to start this business, and she says, whoa. Like that doesn't mean she doesn't support you. It may mean she's really scared, or maybe she really supports you and saying, you got to think about this a bit more. You know what I mean? So that doesn't necessarily mean that. And you may have 3 kids and you got no savings. Like that might not be a smart decision. Like, you know what I mean? So if she doesn't support you in that way, it doesn't mean she's the wrong person for you, because you're not going through adversity by changing careers. So that doesn't count. You may say, I just want to launch this business. That's not adversity. That doesn't test her character. You have to go through real adversity to test her character. And I went through that gracefully, luckily, 8 years ago when I almost went bankrupt and I lost everything in the property market. Negative 1.2 mil, about to go bankrupt.
Whoa. And
at the same time, I had a crisis in my career. I don't want to be an optometrist anymore.
So you were down 1.2 mil.
Yep.
You had been working a decade as an optometrist.
So bad, yeah.
20,000 clients.
Yeah.
And
eye test, yeah.
You're at a crossroads. Take me into that moment. What happened?
Well, the first thing was my wife never blamed me.
Wow.
Yeah. She never, ever said it was my fault. We were living in a nice place, like, because I invested in property really well. My first property was 24. I had a massive property portfolio of 13 properties by the time I was 30. Crushed it. Didn't have a really big purpose. My ego got in the way. This was way too easy. I negated my own success by saying it was a fluke. And so the next 3 properties I bought, I over leveraged in the mining towns and it wiped me out. Everything. All in a period of 2 years. And, you know, if you live in Australia, you know, back then around 8-10 years ago, the mining collapsed. It was a mining boom. And then, boom, collapsed in style. And we had to move from our nice home. It wasn't a mansion or anything, but it had water views and everything, to this tiny 2-bedroom unit apartment, which was my father-in-law's rental, which we got for cheap for only $420 a week in Sydney, which is cheap in Sydney, right? And that was the best we could afford. And he helped us out. And I felt like the biggest loser and biggest failure. And not once did she say our life sucks, or you ruined our life, or you're an idiot, or anything like that. She said, it doesn't matter. We have each other. And that's the only thing that matters to me. And at the time, she was pregnant with our second child. My first one was 1 year old and living in a tiny 2-bedroom apartment. And she was there for me from the day dot. And that's when I knew that, wow. And then I had certain friends that kind of left, and some friends that supported me. And then when I changed careers and I was going through a really hard time and I was struggling in the first 6 months of my business, I had one friend who went to all of my seminars, and my seminars were crap. I'm just starting out. Come on, but some friends who said you're crazy and didn't support, and so that's why I know that adversity will test your character and your friends' characters and the people around you when you're going through adversity, that's when you know who is really there for you. And so that's my litmus test is if you haven't been through true adversity with your other half, you really don't know. You really don't know.
Or if someone's in a situation with a spouse who's not supporting them, what should they do?
I have this weird identity. I don't know where I got it from, but everything's fixable and I'm the comeback king. You know, like I just always believe that no matter what happens, it's all fixable and I'm the comeback king. I believe that was the thing that helped Penny believe in me because I believed in me. I would say step number one, get that conviction first. That's how you really know. Now, if that's the case and you've got conviction and they don't support you, I'm not a relationship coach. I'm definitely not a relationship coach. I would ask your spouse, where to from here? Like, just where to from here? Like,
yeah. So step one, have conviction.
Yeah.
Step two, like,
where to from here, honey?
Yeah. Put the ball in their court and see how they respond.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like what you said about how, you got to have your own conviction. You're your own person.
Yeah.
And, at the end of the day, like, that second person has a choice.
Yeah.
And if you really want something, many say that you live life once. So
yes.
you should chase what you want. And as long as it's not hurting people, that person has a decision to make.
That's right. And the other half to that is be okay with asking for help. So saying, I believe everything's fixable. And this is the other thing I did too. I believe everything's fixable. I'm the comeback king. And I need your help through this.
I would love to rapid fire through a couple of tough questions.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see where your brain immediately goes. And this is where we want the unapologetic you, the crazy hot takes, and just cut loose. First question. Do you feel more comfortable being underestimated or admired?
Underestimated.
Why?
I love the surprise when someone says, wow, I didn't think you'd do it. You know what I mean? I resonate with the underdog and I don't know. I just love being unassuming. That's just more my style. That's why I dress this every day. I only got this and a white shirt underneath more from simplicity because I don't see myself as a showy kind of person. I rather kind of let my results do kind of all the talking. So that's me.
Now you call yourself the underdog.
Yeah.
Why?
My parents came in with nothing. I was the only Asian kid in my class in an all-boys Catholic school in 1995. That's like 30 years ago. You can imagine the only Asian kid in an all-boys Catholic school in 1995. Yeah. We didn't grow up with money. We grew up in Cabramatta, which is the Bronx. And English was my second language, even though I learned English, as a kid. And, it's pretty much fluent now, But, and in high school, I was pretty academic, but in high school, every year they gave out high school ducks. Even in year 7 ducks, year 8 ducks, year 9 ducks, year 10 ducks, and then year 12 ducks was like the highest ducks award. And there was always these 2 kids that always won it. And then in year 12, I got it. You know what I mean? I got high school ducks. Unassumingly, no one expected it. And everyone thought the other 2 kids were the favorites. And I got it when it counted. You know what I mean? And so... but it's all because I've always been the underdog, and I love it. I love it when people underestimate me. I love it when people underestimate other people. So that's why I don't underestimate people. And I think that's a good trait when you don't underestimate people. You never know who's a dark horse in the room, and so you always treat everyone the same. You just don't know, and so I think it works both ways. It's a great trait to have. Because then you're not a target, but it's also a great trait to have because then you don't like mistreat anyone. You know what I mean? Yeah.
How has your Vietnamese Australian heritage shaped you?
I'm so proud of my heritage. I used to hate it growing up. So my parents were so hard on me, and that's not just my parents. It's the whole Vietnamese culture or Asian culture. It was work hard, study hard. It was ruthless discipline. It was really no reward for doing things right. It was just punishment for doing things wrong. And so if we did something good, we may get a Good. At most. At most. At most. If we did something bad, nah. Like, there was one punishment where I had to kneel down for an hour on my knees. And if that wasn't bad enough, when he wanted to up the ante, I had to kneel down and stand up and kneel down and stand up and kneel down and stand up for hours on tiles, right? And I don't remember what I did. I can't remember. It wasn't anything that bad. Like, probably the worst thing I did was play with fire. Like, every boy plays with fire. I don't know. Maybe I hit my brother. I'm not sure. Like, it wasn't like anything that I remember as that bad, but that was the kind of punishment we got.
Wow.
Yeah, and then that was my dad punishing us, and then my mum would just get the stick out. Wow, when she had the stick out, it was like time to put on 3 tracksuit pants because, that was the kind of thing. I loved it. I didn't love it then, but I love how it made me.
Really?
Yeah, it made me the achiever that I am. So for example, like when I got ducks in height, I remember in high school, we used to have this diary and the teachers would write in comments, and if you did something bad or you didn't do your homework or something or you're late, they'll write a bad comment in your diary. And your parents have to sign that every day. I remember one time I got a bad comment and then my mum was so pissed off and she didn't give my allowance for the week. And as a kid, like, you want those $3. Like, I don't know, it was $3 or something. I was like, damn it, like, I can't go buy lollies now. I was distraught. So I didn't get allowance from one bad comment. Now, every time I got a good comment, I got nothing. I think this is how I was raised. Now, when I got ducks in high school, I said, Mum, I did it. I got ducks. Highest mark you can get in high school, right? She just said, good. Good. That's it. No celebration, nothing. And that destroyed me inside at the time. But I look back and say that this is what creates the drive in me. And it also created empathy in me to others. Empathy in a way that I don't buy into people's excuses anymore. So it allows me to understand that, okay, I know you have a tough upbringing and so did I, but that's not the reason why you should fail. If you're driven to try to prove yourself because you have a tough upbringing, great, because here's the opposite. And we want to know Oprah's story. She got raped when she was 11 twice by her uncle. One time she got pregnant. She could have used that to go in a life of crime and drugs and prostitution, which is what most people do, or she could use that to become Oprah.
There's a quote that comes to mind, and it's, the greatest tests in your life will become the most powerful testimonies.
Wow.
And reason for change. And I too reflect on my childhood, and I won't go into it today's podcast, but people have asked me about my childhood and I share these traumatic stories, and I look back at them and almost like from a place of glee, like, this made me who I am now. And people go, how can you look at something so fucked up and be so proud of it? And I'm like, it made me me. And I was on stage with Sarah Al-Madani in Romania, and she said this prolific, goosebump, powerful statement. And when she was a child, grew up and there was abuse in the family. And she said, if you can't laugh about it, you're not truly healed. And that triggered so many people in the audience. But she had a point. She's like, if something horrible's happened to you and you can't laugh at it, you haven't healed it.
I agree with that. And I would even say, like, if you can't be grateful for it, then it still owns you.
Wow. Last question. If your son or daughter watched every piece of content you ever made, what would you hope that they'd understand about you?
That's a really good question. Wow. I was going to say one thing, but now I was going to say, Dad is the kind of guy that, when he sets his mind on something, he goes and gets it, But the reality is, I would want them to have the impression that I really care for the people I serve, and I really care for helping other people become better. And I really genuinely want to make this world a better place. And everyone who comes through me is better off because they had an interaction with me through some way, shape, or form. Like, that's what I want them to see out of what I'm doing.
In closing, any final thoughts you want to leave people with before we close today's episode?
Everyone's not everyone's read the book, but everyone knows of the book Think and Grow Rich. And, it talks about how, if the mind can conceive it, it can achieve it, like that kind of saying there. Now, I believe that your perception is your projection is your perception. Like you can't achieve what you can't perceive. And so, for example, if you set a goal to make $100,000 a year or $1 million a year or $10 million a year, the only reason why you set that goal for $1 million a year is because you can't perceive anything more than that, which means that it's only in your awareness that you can make $1 million a year, which is fine. So that means you can't achieve $1 million a year because it's in your awareness. Otherwise, it would not be in your awareness, and otherwise you wouldn't say that number. And so you can only achieve what you perceive. But in order to perceive what you achieve, you must believe what you perceive. But in order to believe what you perceive, you must become what you believe. And so the ultimate journey to success is the journey of becoming. That's how you become successful.
Powerful statement. I've had probably the most goosebumps I've ever had in this chair in one session. Richmond, this was a fantastic conversation about how you approach what it is that you do. And it's been a pleasure to sit here with you today and unpack it. Thank you for being here.
Appreciate you, Dane.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. This episode is brought to you by Wix Studio.